Okay, everybody. I know I was teasing you with my sound of beads. I was clinking those beads around to, I don't know, to make it all that much more enticing, I guess. So bear with me here just a second. I'm going to put myself up on the screen if you'll bear with me here in just a moment. We've been running around here getting ready for this flash sale. And I've got some samples that I think you're really going to love. So bear with me here for 2 shakes as I just add something else right onto my board. I think you guys are going to really dig this because I dig this a lot. I really, really like it. So let me put that over there, and this big pile of beads will be fine there. And I've got these, and we are ready in 3, 2, and 1. Here I am. All right, everybody. Good morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever it is that you are around this great big world of ours. Thank you for joining us for Free Tip Friday. And I'm Kate Richburg, and you are watching one of our regular Friday broadcasts here at beadshop.com. So it's great to have everybody here. Today is a really, really fun day. I knew that you guys, I saw that my speaker was on, my microphone was on when I pushed play, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to let them listen to the beads as they clink around. So and you did. It's a good thing my microphone is working so well. So it's great to have everybody here. It looks like people are watching us from all over the place, which is great. Janice is here over on our YouTube channel, doing some moderating and saying hello and chatting. And of course, our Gita is over on our Facebook page saying hello and chatting over there. So we've got so much to do today. I'm putting on my lotion from Denmark from Gita that stays here so that my hands won't look too terrible as they're going over these beads. But it's great to have all of you here. And I think I saw way back in the chat our old bead shop friend Jean.
I believe, Miss Jean, you were watching on Facebook. So it's nice to see you in the audience. And it's thank you so much for all of your support of beadshop.com over the years. I saw your little avatar. There you are. Janice is over on YouTube, but I know that she'll be happy to know that you're watching over on Facebook. So thank you so much. You know, here at Bead Shop, we go back to 1982. I know that some of you know that, but our brick and mortar store was opened in 1982 by our illustrious founder, Janice Parsons. And through the years, it's taken many, many forms. And it's great to be able to connect not only through our online store, now that we're online only, but it's great to connect with you all around the world through this medium of virtual togetherness, I guess. And Janice, I'm going to put this on the screen so you can see it. Jean is saying, sending love to you both. So thank you so much. It's great to see you there. And a big hello to my mom, who is bearing the heat wave in Fresno. They finally have their air conditioning fixed. So hooray, my mom is in sane territory again. So I hope everyone is well around this great big world of ours, and who have kind of pulled up to the bead table today. So, you guys, so let me tell you what I did. So I went to the gem show a few weeks ago, and, you know, it's been tough with the pandemic in many, many ways. And supply chain all over, as my mom can attest to, waiting for an air conditioner, has been affected by the pandemic, right? And so we're slowly moving towards getting things back to normal, but it's still, you know, things aren't completely back to normal yet. So one of those things, though, that affected us here at Bead Shop is that we don't have the ability to shop in person like we used to. Right. And so I was really excited to be able to go to our local gem show. It was back on masks and social distancing, and I had hand sanitizer in one hand and wipes in the other, but I went. And it felt great. It felt great to be in person. I saw so many people that I knew. It was really cool to see that. So if any of my gem show friends are out there watching, it was great to see you walking the aisles and saying hello. And so I was able to buy some things in person that I have not been able to do in a while. And well, I just want to tell you, I love gemstones, right? You're with me, right? I mean, I like glass beads. Don't get me wrong. Not even like, I love glass beads, right? Check glass sends me over the moon. But semi-precious beads are so delicious, as Janice would say, right? So I was able to shop in person like in the before times. And so I gathered some stuff up. One of them is going to be a Kate mix that is coming in a bit later. But this, I thought, I found six right here, different stones that I'm going to share with you today. And they're not live yet. They're going to go live. If you're watching this live, it is Friday, July 16th at 10:42 a.m. on the West Coast. Okay. So these are going to go live at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And once they're gone, they're gone. I have very limited amounts. You'll see I have limited amounts. They'll be on. There's a link that's right on the homepage. You'll see them. Drea will put them right on the front. Or if you got our newsletter that Drea wrote, there's a link to them. It's called Flash Sale Friday. Nothing's populated yet because they're not live yet. Okay, but they will be right after this broadcast is over. Okay, so let me show you what I've got. Okay, I mean, why not? Right? That's what we're here for. So let me get this so it looks nice. So I shopped two different styles. Okay. I shopped some micro-faceted stones. Let me get here. And these are the micro-facets. And you can see, let me get really close to them. Let me get those little bags out of the way. So they're so delish. So micro-facets are just to die for. And you'll see these when I put them all together, the collection together, you'll really see how they look. So these are the projects that I've made. Okay. And let me get the tray. Okay. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So I got 3 different types of micro-faceted stones, and these all range in about the 3 millimeter size. So they're not super, super tiny, but they're not super big. Okay. So, so this is the faceted labradorite right here. And you can see it goes from light to dark. And it's just a gorgeous, look at how much it shines. It's really great. These, I couldn't even take it. I love them so much. This is the pink tourmaline natural color. Some are fairly transparent. Some are a little semi-transparent, more opaque, but the color is fantastic. And then I've got some peach moonstone. Now, when you buy moonstone, the way the moonstone is, right, these are strung on an orange thread, okay? And that's just how they're done. A lot of times, these moonstones or semi-transparent beads are strung on the color, like these are peach moonstone, right? When we take them off of this thread, this peach doesn't show through as well, and you'll see how I use that. So I chose a thread to string them on that will give this same effect. When you get them in person, you'll see they're slightly peach, but with this orange thread going through, and that's just how these are strung. So I wanted to really show you that and then show you the difference. But look at how beautiful they are. Even the moonstone, the chatoyance is what that's called, is really gorgeous on these. So these are the facets, the micro facets. And this is it. This is everything we have. They're sitting right here, right? But if you guys like this, I'll do this again. Okay. So let me get this out of the way and let me show you what I made with these, okay? And then I'm going to bring those other ones in and I'll show you what I'm going to make with those or what I would use them for. So and these are all about 3 millimeter. Let me get my little millimeter gauge. I've got some unstrung. The tourmaline are the largest, okay? Hole to hole. This one, and they vary in size a little bit. This is 2.9, almost 3 millimeters. And the sides, side to side, is about, this one's about 3.7. Okay, about. Now, the labradorite, it can look like it has a little bit of a green cast to it. It's just kind of how that labradorite is. But the labradorite has, and some of them are more transparent, some of them are more opaque, some of them are dark, some of them are light. They're just a mixture. So these are about 3.3 right there. And then the moonstone are the smallest, and I want to show you these guys. So see how when they're on the strand, they pick up whatever color you string them on. They are just a slight peach, though, when you take them off the strand. Can you see the difference? They're still gorgeous, right? But I wanted to show you kind of how that is. And you'll see that wherever you buy gemstones. If you buy kind of these light, semi-transparent, they thread a colored thread through them, so they look a little more intense. But you can do that as well. That's something you can do to pop up the color. So these are a little smaller. These are 2.5 millimeter hole to hole, I think. And then I think side to side, they're just a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can get that in there. 2.8, almost 3. So it depends on, they vary a little bit. So I wanted to make something that felt opulent and decadent and delicate all at the same time. Okay, that's the task I set for myself. And so yesterday when I was playing around with these, okay, I started actually with this one, this labradorite piece here. And I wanted kind of this flat macrame meets poetry, our poetry project, kind of meets our prairie project. So I wanted to kind of toss it all up in the air a little bit. And I was inspired by Janice's Born Yesterday project. And her Born Yesterday project is one that's on the web. It's on our beadshop.com website. And it's one that Janice designed a while back. And it's so luscious, I guess, is the right word for it, I suppose. And it uses the vintage finds. Okay, and I have some. We're going to look at those in a moment. But I wanted this to kind of have that same feel a little bit. But I also wanted it to be have a little more delicacy to it as well. So, and I was going to ladder with these, right? I first started laddering, and you could. The hole sizes, I also wanted to mention, the hole sizes on these are very regular, very clean, and not very sharp at all. So the quality of these hole sizes is great as well. Okay, so the thread that I'm using, and let me show you this, and you know what, I didn't take a screenshot of this earlier, so I need to do that. So bear with me here 1 second while you look at this for just a moment. I'm going to screenshot this, and I want to put this up on the broadcast so you can see it. The thread that I am using is the Micro-faceted, okay? And I am using a 1 millimeter leather, okay? And Drea, if you go over to our blog, also called the Bead Table, and I'm sure you guys will link it in there. If you go to our blog, you'll see that Drea listed all of these ingredients that I used for you guys as well, and linked them. But this is the Micro-faceted. I hope I didn't say fine, because I've been saying fine all morning, but it's micro. The Micro-faceted in wine, in copper rose, and in cocoa. And then this is the 1 millimeter leather in distressed violet, gold, and distressed gray. Okay, and I'll show this. This is the time now to take your screenshot right there. And it's also listed, as I said, on the blog. Now, this is just a recipe. These are just things that I pulled right off the wall and kind of played around with them. Okay, so the look that I was going for here, and you can see it if I pull them kind of to the side right here, I was trying to go for a monochromatic kind of a look, right? So when they'd stack, they would be a color story in and of themselves. Okay, so that's why I chose the colors I did. But you can mix up the colors, right? You could use this basic palette and then play around with the different beads, mixing the beads in the different pieces, whatever. So this is really one for you to get creative. But I wanted to show you the technique for this, and then I'm going to switch gears and show you the other 3 beads that I have. Okay, so what I've done is I came in, and you can see how easy this is. I've just lashed these down. I chose buttons. This is the Courtesan, the Jardin, and the small lotus button in silver. And I simply looped my 1 millimeter leather through. Okay, that's it. Then I did some flat macrame stitch. I found the center. I cut 4 yards. It's long, but I didn't want to have to add thread because the hole sizes, when I laddered, when I did kind of my playing around with laddering, I did infinity stitch, no surprise there. And I did it with a doubled thread, and it worked out fine. But it wasn't quite, the beads I felt were caged in between the leather. It wasn't quite right for me. So that's why I jumped in and just made these with the this flat macrame with the beads along the outside. So I started, you can see up here, let me get my awl and let me get a little closer. Oh, it's micro. Oh, did I say it was fine? I did. I put it on the thing. Let me change this. Sorry. I don't know what it is. You know how sometimes you have a block in your head about what it is that you used? And I've always gotten the fine and the micro mixed up. I'm going to change this on my little screenshot right here. Bear with me, and I'm going to put it back up so you guys have the right ones. And so let me go to this, and let me get rid of this, and let me put in this correct overlay. So all of you that have screenshotted, it's time to screenshot again. Sorry, Christine Whitney. There we go. It is micro. And I told myself, say micro, say micro. And what did I do? I put in fine. The fine will be just, I think, you could probably do it with fine, but I think it'll be just a little too thick. So I changed that up. So I'm sorry. That's my fault. I was so excited about these that I didn't think. But you can see this thread that they're strung on, they're a little bit heavier, but I think the fine would be just a little too thick. Okay. So that's that. Everybody's got their screenshots. Okay. Back to it. Back to work. And so here we go. So what I did, flat macrame, flat macrame, flat macrame, and we have a great skill builder on that flat macrame stitch. Then I added a bead on the right, a bead on the left, continued with the flat macrame, bead on the right, bead on the left, continued all the way down, right? Kept going. And I think I did maybe 3 sets of flat macrame stitches. It just depends on what it is you like, how close you want, how you want them to be. But I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so I think I did 3 full square knots there. Okay. So let me just show you. Here it is. Here are my ends. And I didn't do anything to them. You could put some needles on the ends if you wanted. And you'll see I actually put a needle on that one. I'll show you. But I simply get my bead. Note to self, put lotion on a little bit earlier than you do right before the broadcast. So see, that goes on really nicely. And then we'll put the other one on the opposite end. And again, these are long tails, but I don't want to add thread. So I'm working a little bit longer with longer threads. So here I see that my last stitch that I made was on the left-hand side. So that's where I make my loop. And I come in and I tighten. And then I'll do the opposite. So I do 2 half hitch knots that make that full square knot. And see if this kind of comes, see how it comes kind of loose like this? I'll tighten, and then I'll kind of put my finger on that one, and then I'll tighten below it. And there you have it. It's nice and tight. And then I'll continue on. And so maybe I'll make, let's see. So that was 1 full square knot. This is 2. This is 3. And again, the skill builder is on beadshop.com on how to do this flat macrame. Sorry, my hands got out of sync there. There we go. That looks about right. I'm going to do one more. I think I did probably then 4 of these. And then I'll continue on. But you decide what you like. Okay? That's it. And I'll talk about lengths and stuff in a second because there's a couple of questions. There is, so Deborah has a question, what bead board am I using? So Deborah, let me show you. Let me pull the camera back so you can see this. I am using sorry, it's a little, I'm trying to keep it not so messy around the edges. You don't really want to see what my bead table looks like. I'm using our regular design tray with a gray project insert board inside. And I've clipped it to the board using just a little piece of twine. I make my little circles of twine, slip my button on the inside, and then clip them to the board right here with these clampers that we carry. Okay. And you can see I have it done on both sides and it's nice and taut there, right? So that when I macrame, everything stays nice and even. When I'm working on these, I have them spread out a little bit more, but for camera, I have them tight. Okay. Now the length, these strands, when they're strung, are 15 inches. Okay. So it just depends. It'll be, I mean, I've got plenty of beads here. So I will cut, if I'm going to do a double wrap, my wrist is about 6.5 inches. So I'm going to say 7. Double that, 14, one length, plus a few inches, maybe 16. Double that is 32. So somewhere between 32 and 36 inches a yard, maybe. And then double it over. So you've got half. So this total length here of these is about 30 to 36 inches. Okay, that's about right. Because that gives me enough room that if I decide, oh, I want to do something else at the very end or whatever, I've got enough to play with. Now, I want to show you this center one. And this will be like the last thing we do on this. And then I'm going to switch gears to the other 3. Okay. I want to show you, I'm going to put these to the side and just focus on this center. My goal for these is to make each of these a double wrap so that I can wear them all together. I think they'll be luscious. So I hope, nope, of course that needle fell off, but that's okay. So let me show you this one. This is the one with the moonstone, and I started playing around with this. Okay, yeah, the labradorite does look a little green. It does have a little bit of a green tint to it, I think. Maybe. It's like that internet meme, is this blue or is this pink or whatever, right? What color is the labradorite? So let me string this one on this side. And I'm going to do a couple of sections here. And as I was frantically stringing these up this morning, right, I was kind of thinking about it this morning. It does have a little bit of a moss agate feel, but trust me, they are the labradorite. They're really gorge. So I'm going to come in and make this stitch. And as I was thinking, as I was playing around with these, you know, and the design in my head, I really wanted to strike that balance between simplicity and opulence with these. And I was thinking a lot about Janice's poetry project, her classic one with the pearls that she's done. And you know how the poetry project has that strand, you string the pearls on the center strand, and then you kind of macrame around them, right? It's a lovely project. I think it's really a fun one to make, really great for summer. But I thought I wanted kind of that poetry feeling with a center cord maybe with a center bead. But since these are so delicate, I didn't want the thread to overwhelm the beads, if that makes sense. So I wanted the beads to really stand out on their own. So I'm going to make this one more, and then I'm going to show you. See how the beads above this, see how I've got 3 beads across? Okay. So the way I did that was, and you can do this whole thing starting just doing the macrame portions with the beads along the outside. And then you can add your center section after the fact. And it could even be a different bead. It could be a contrasting bead. If you have like a tiny pearl or something, it could be different. But I wanted these all to be fairly monochromatic. So I wanted them to just be real simple. So what I did then, I had all of these that were naked, right? Like these. Well, they weren't naked, but you know what I mean. There was no center bead there. Okay? So what I did was I strung my thread through a sharp's needle. I cut another length of thread. Maybe this is a yard or so. And I strung a sharp's needle on there. And I had it on here until just a few moments ago when it fell off. So bear with me while I restring this needle. I need to get it a little more in my field of vision, so I'm going to put it on off camera. So bear with me here. I'm doing Emily's trick of needling the thread and not threading the needle. There we go. And then I started by just stitching. I started up here and I brought my needle down under my flat macrame when it came all, and I put a little bit of glue on the thread at the very end when I pulled it through, so it's staying. Then my thread came up here, I put my bead on, and then I stitched it through this section, kept going, and then I just held that thread out here. You can see, I've just macrameed it. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here is string on my moonstone. Slide my needle under my macrame there. Can you see that? And pull it through. And then the bead is stitched. I was trying to do like all 3 of these at the same time, and it was just a fumble fest for me. It was like I was trying to get this center strand to sit evenly and then macrame these around, and it was a nightmare. And I was like, why don't I just stitch them in later? And number one, these beads are seated now perfectly, right? And number 2, this kind of scratches my itch of I like to stitch things, right? So just make sure, and your leather makes a little channel. See how the needle lays in that little channel? Just bring it through. And first you have to put a bead on though, or else it doesn't work. So let me slide that back underneath. I was so proud of myself. Pride goeth before a fall, right? That's what my gran would say. So I was so excited. But let me now undo this. And I'm not going to make the mistake of trying to back the needle backwards through that macrame. I took the needle off. If I threaded that needle once, I can thread it again. Right? Needle the thread. There she is. Oh, almost. And if your needle doesn't thread easily on one side, turn the needle over and thread it through the other side, because needle eyes do have a direction. That almost went through, but again, It's a little far outside of my vision range, so I'm going to hold it off camera while I thread it. Look, that's the magic touch. Okay. So don't forget to put a bead on before you make your stitch. So let me get that one. And let me stitch it under. Okay, and you can count how many beads as you go along to make sure that you have enough of these to work with. Okay, so here's this, right? And look at how pretty this looks. Let's do that with let's do it with this one. It's a little bit larger. I'm going long. Well, I'll just do this real quick because I want to show you those other beads, and I have to be off by 11:30. So speed it up, Richburg. But it's a really good technique, and you could do this with just about any kind of bead, right? You could scale this way up and do this with glass, right? It would be very, very pretty. So keep this little trick tucked away. And I'm going to show you this one. Christine had a great tip that I'm going to put up. She's saying use all the same buttons on your wraps, and then you can connect the 3 end to end for a 6 wrap that's connected. That's very clever. That's a really great tip. And then, of course, Geeta just put up, which I want to put up here. The flash sale starts on these at 11:30 Pacific Standard Time, and it's under on beadshop.com, collections flash sale Friday. They'll also be linked on the homepage, I believe. They'll be there as well. So see, this is how I started. I just stitched underneath. This is the wine micro seal on. And if you have trouble pulling that through, just let your pliers kind of do the work there for you. And then what I did was I put a little drop of glue there and I pulled it underneath so it stayed, so it doesn't pull out. But see here, you can just go along after you've finished, count out your beads so you have the right amount, and you can see how it just stitches. Look at it, just lush, lush, lush. Okay, I'm going to stitch one more in here, and then we're going to call it a day on this, and I'm going to bring the other ones in. I know I've been teasing you with those other 3 bead strands. Those are the ones you heard if you were watching the beginning of the broadcast when I didn't have my microphone off. There we go. And just kind of pull it so it stands right up where you want it to stand. And there it is. Okay. And you could skip, you could do like clusters of these, then you could skip one, do a cluster or one every other or whatever. Okay. So whatever works for you. Okay. So there they are. That's your last looks of those guys. And again, the materials, the ingredients that I used for this, they're up on the web, on our blog on beadshop.com, the Bead Table blog. And you can find them linked there. But choose your own. This was micro seal-on, 1mm leather, and a button. Okay, and then 1 strand of each of these guys. Okay, so let's go back to let me put those over there. And I'll give you a last look of this one, and then we'll bring in our new ones. So they're all here. Beautiful. Hello, friends. So there we go. Stack that precariously to my left. And from my right, now these are heavy. Oh, look, here's the needle that was on my thread. These are heavy. Now we're going to the exact opposite end of the spectrum. And these are all approximately, Laura is asking the lengths of these beads or these strands. They're all approximately 15 inches to 15 and a half, just shy of 16 inches. Okay. Now I went to the very other end of the spectrum, and I don't even know which one I like the best. Does that make sense? Right? I can't decide if I like those little ones or these big ones. Now, these are browns. These are chrysoprase, natural jade, natural undyed jade, and natural turquoise in this rice shape. These rounds, the jade and the chrysoprase, are both around 10 millimeters-ish, 10 and a half. The thing about all of these, but each bead is different, right? So I'm going to pull just this random strand up, okay? And this comes in, and you can see how this one has a lot of that brown matrix with a little bit running through, a little bit of the chrysoprase running through. This one's really light. This one's really green. So they're all really individual, okay? Some of them are just the perfect green like this, right? So these are, and the question on the turquoise, this is Hubei. This is Chinese turquoise here, not US. So this size, just so you know, I'm going to recalibrate this. From hole to, and again, they'll vary. From hole to hole, this is just shy of 10 millimeter and 10.3. Okay, so they vary a little bit in size. That one's a little bit bigger. And the hole, again, look at that hole size is a nice size, right? Really good. So that's the chrysoprase. I just wanted to keep them all because they're delish. And the quality is gorgeous. They're fairly flawless. You know, they have inclusions, you know, but the beads themselves, the quality, regardless of the color, is really, really clean. The hole sizes, as I say, are really good. You know, they're not all that perfect green that we want, but it's a beautiful mix. This would be great. I just want to wire wrap these. That's really all I want to do, or knot them, right? I would use a double strand of fine, this time I really mean it, fine Ceylon to knot them on. They'd look gorgeous. Or wire wrapping in just a simple strand. You could also make a really heavy-duty ladder bracelet out of these. They would be beautiful. But look at this. It's gorgeous. So then, this one, these are the natural jade. They didn't have many of them, and I thought, well, I'm just going to get them anyway. They're beautiful. Again, these might be just a touch smaller. I don't know. That's about the same. I don't know what it is about jade that also just kind of sends me over the edge, but it varies from that nice dark to this almost white jade here. Again, the quality is good. The beads have very few inclusions. Some have a few, but not much. And you could also sort these by color and do a kind of a dark to light, light to dark kind of thing with these, or just mix them up like this. And these undyed jade is getting harder to find, so they're really great. These are that turquoise, the turquoise rice, the Hubei turquoise. Say that fast. In a rice bead. And again, the size will vary just a little. If you get a smaller strand like this or a smaller bead like this, they'll have more beads on the strand. If the beads are a little bit bigger, you'll have fewer beads on the strand. So these in general, and some are more blue, Some are more green, right? They vary. Turquoise is such a stone that just varies so much. But these, again, the holes, clean. That's the first thing. If wherever you're buying your beads from, you guys, or if you go to a gem show or you go wherever, the first thing that I check are the holes. Holes will tell you a lot about the quality of this bead. If the holes are chipped around the edges, you'll be able to tell that perhaps the bead is maybe not a great as quality. The stone isn't as great of a quality. You'll also be able to see sometimes down the inside of the bead, so you'll know if they're coated or if they're dyed, that kind of thing. So I always check the holes. First thing I do. So size-wise, let me get this smaller one. And I can't even tell you, I love them. This is about 9.6 millimeter by about 3.8. This one here, I'll just do a random. 9.1 by 3.5. This one here has a fat, chunky one. That's 4.1 by 10.4 millimeter. So you'll get a good variety, and we'll choose a nice strand for you. They're all nice strands. And yeah, you want to make sure that that the holes aren't like uneven. That's a really great point. Uneven or off center. See how the holes, land in the center of the bead too. That's really important. The turquoise has only been sealed as normal turquoise is. It's always sealed against the elements. As soon as turquoise comes out of the matrix of the rock, it starts to degrade. So pretty much 100% all of the turquoise that you see has some kind of a coating on it, right? So but there's no other treatment. There's no other dye, anything like that. So all natural, really gorgeous Chinese turquoise. I just, again, want to make a beautiful torsade out of these. All right. Stabilized is the correct word. Thank you, Janice. That's the word I was searching for. So I want to show you, I've got just 10 minutes, and I want to take that short time. Yeah, thank you. Angela's saying it's a great tip on the bead holes. She's never looked at them. That's that's the first thing I do, right? I check that hole. That's going to tell you what it is. And Sin asked, can you use KO on those gemstones? You certainly can. You can use a doubled over KO, which is what I did when I played around with the laddering. So let me get these natural jade, though. This could be anything, any one of these. I have, let me take these out and these out. Bear with me here just a second. I have to make sure they all go back where they're supposed to go. So you may remember back, I don't know, it might have been 2019, maybe. I made a kit that had some vintage natural jade, old natural jade in it, with a centerpiece, and so many of you loved it, and I loved it too, and I just have not been able to find this kind of color again, this kind of semi-matte finish, but these are beautiful, right? And so I used a running down the center, I think this is the 0.4 millimeter Chinese knotting cord, and then I did that flat macrame in between with the threads running around like Janice did in her poetry project. And so if this was something that you wanted to create, if you missed out on that kit that I did, this is a great substitute. It's half as long, so this is like a 15-inch strand. So you would just get one round of these. You could get 2 strands if you wanted it to be longer, or mix it with something else. Okay, but this would be a great way to use it. The hole sizes on these are gigantic, so I wouldn't use a doubled strand. I'd use a single strand running down the center, or maybe you could use a double strand of 0.4. I'd have to check it. Or you could use double strand of the seal-on, and then macrame around that. But this would be a beautiful way to show those off. Okay. I also wanted to show you, this is Janice's, her original Born Yesterday. And this was with the serpentine. And we still carry some of the, I think it's the honey serpentine rounds we carry in the vintage finds area. These are just gorgeous. You could do that same thing. This is, I think Janice used regular actually with this. These holes, I would probably use the fine on the inside, and you could then macrame with the regular on the outside. Okay. 0.5 leather, someone's asking. I think I would have to check. 0.5 might be just slightly big, I think, because leather doesn't have the give that thread has. So it might just be a slight one like tick too big. But the 0.4 Chinese knotting cord would be great with this for sure. And then I also brought, this was one, we have none of these beads left, but it shows you how, again, how effective. What Janice did was she mixed the rice bead. We had those beautiful rice beads here with these rounds. So you could mix the turquoise rice with these. They'd look really cool. So I think it would be great for that project. I think it would be beautiful. And it is, someone saying it's one of their favorite projects. I agree. Here's the Born Yesterday. Here's the centerpiece that goes on it. These also are long gone from Bead Shop, but we do have some other beautiful pieces in our vintage finds that you can add. So that, folks, is that. So I wanted to give you some tips. We've got about T-5 minutes before the sale starts, and it will sell out. So if you watch this later and we're out of these beads, I'm sorry I didn't have an infinite amount, but if you love it, rest assured, I'm going to do this again and just go and find some selections that I love and sell them to you at prices that are great. And they'll all be listed. All the prices are on the website. And I hope you like them as much as I do. Be prepared, though. Just because you put something in your cart does not mean that it's yours until you check out and get your confirmation code that you have finished checking out. So I would jump over to beadshop.com. I would, if you want to sign into your account, all of that kind of stuff, get ready, jump in, and then when they're going to go live in like 4 minutes, so I've got to get off of here. And then once you've got everything in your cart that you'd like, push send, finish your cart, close your cart, right? And push pay, and we'll get them out real soon to you. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much for joining me on this flash sale Friday for all of these. I've got them right here. All of these delightful and delicious beads. I hope that you love them as much as I do. And I will be back on Wednesday for a wire play day. I'm going to share a whole bunch of wire tips and tricks. Janice just put the link in there. I'm going to show that as we sign off. Go right over to beadshop.com and you see it there. But Wednesday is going to be a wire play day. I'm going to get tools in one hand, wire in the other, and just play around with a whole bunch of tips and ideas for wire. So thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining me. Thank you so much for supporting us. We cannot thank you enough. Have a fantastic and creative weekend, and I'll see you Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.